Folks, this is going to be one of the most important videos I've ever made. Suddenly, Calvin, MH370, the Rendlesham Forest incident, and the Tic Tac, amazingly, are all beginning to come together. And I have to really reach out to Ashton Forbes for inspiring a strange connection with something he said yesterday about MH370 being real and the possible fact that it was captured by something called Gorgon Stare, a novel, wide-area, multi-sensor, AI-interpreted observation program. This is important, and it's also very complicated. I will say things that you need to ask questions. I also get things wrong. I'm Hubble. I am trying to piece together a jigsaw that is secret. It has no picture on the box. We are getting bits and clues from everywhere. But suddenly something happened yesterday. You know, folks, when you have disparate threads all hanging in the air, and then Ashton Forbes says Gorgon Stare, and you look into it and you go, hang on a minute, Calvin, Tic Tac, Rendlesham, and MH. Oh! This is going to upset you. It's probably all very advanced, very secret human technology. Now, if it was NHI, I would say, I would love it to be NHI. But if it's not, if it's us clever human bunnies up to something at least 50 years in advance of what you think is going on, that's worth talking about, isn't it? So let's dive in. First of all, with an enormous kind of admission or a story for me. Why do I think that the Rendlesham Forest case is the best UFO case ever? Why did it convince me that there was something going on that I didn't understand? There was something going on strange. There was unknown anomalous phenomenon, and they were real. The most telling statement about the Rendlesham Forest incident, and we'll talk about the others as well, is if you understand Rendlesham Forest, you understand the true nature of UAP. Now, I want to extend that, and I want to say, if you understand the Tic Tac, you understand UAP. If you understand Calvin, you understand UAP. And if you understand what might have really happened in the MH370, you understand human advanced physics. Is there a connection? Okay, all right, stop. Okay, that was the overdramatic teaser. Let's dive into the nitty-gritty. Now, Rendlesham Forest is a brilliant case because it actually has very sadly a number of US Air Force personnel who were severely injured, and their internal bodily injuries are testament to exactly what they were exposed to. And don't take that from me, take that from Dr. Kit Green, at the time the chief medical officer for the CIA. Dr. Kit Green was put on a mission by the CIA in his capacity as medical officer to understand what these poor people in Suffolk were exposed to. He might have even been there at the time, but that's rather controversial. But we do know that immediately following the exposure to the unknown, Dr. Kit Green analysed John Burroughs and all the other witnesses because he knew their mental, their dermatological, their optical, and their internal damage was caused by something he could understand. He could name it. I, of course, know John Burroughs very well, and he shared with me personally his actual medical effects and the history of how he was analysed after the Rendlesham Forest incident. Immediately, the Air Force wanted to know about his injuries. The CIA wanted to know about John Burroughs and others' injuries because they had a lookup table of the type of injuries that you get from being too close to a UAP. And over 10 years ago, Dr. Gary Nolan wanted a DNA sample from John Burroughs to see how his body had changed post-UAP exposure. This was taken very seriously. I mean, it was taken so seriously that they pretended John Burroughs wasn't in the Air Force. They classified his records. The VA didn't have access to give him a settlement or actually give him the treatment that he deserved. The whole thing was so secret because they could correlate Burroughs and others who were injured with the frequencies he was exposed to. Let me tell you something that I've never said before. It's quite personal. I mean, John Burroughs has shared this with me. I mean, he has symptoms that were severe. John Burroughs should have died. John Burroughs is a lucky man. John Burroughs was inside a microwave oven. Effectively, he had non-ionizing, mean non-radioactive frequencies going from low to medium microwaves, the oven bit. He had up from microwaves terahertz that we don't even know how terahertz affect the human body very well. He then had low and then high infrared, which causes dermatological burning. He then had the optical frequencies that he saw, white and orange and blue and green lights that we could all sense with our optical senses, our eyes, which were also damaged in John Burroughs' case. And then it gets worse. Above ultraviolet, which also caused skin burns, he went into mild X-rays. All of this in a scrubby woodland in Suffolk. But we'll get on to the scrubby woodland in a minute. First of all, he was exposed to something that would have killed any human. He was very lucky by having a unique physiological thing inside him. His heart valves, the things that open and close that let the blood one way into the rest of your body, were shredded. Luckily, Mr. Burroughs had a very strong leaflet, which is part of the heart valve. Although he couldn't help notice, as a fit dog-handling security guard in the US Air Force, he was acting like an old man with the pressure being reduced by the pumping of a now very injured valve. He was a lucky man to survive. And the US Air Force, in my humble opinion, treated John Burroughs and other veterans who were exposed to UAP and other types of known radiation really badly. For 15 years, they classified his medical records. It was only John McCain's office who got them freed due to a leaked report by the MOD in England. It was appalling. But hang on, why am I mentioning this? What's that got to do with Calvin and MH370 and the Tic Tac? Well, this is the connection. All of those cases are brilliant. They have multiple witnesses, photographs, stunning ones, and incredibly credible witnesses like Dietrich and Fravor. They're not just an anecdotal, I saw a light in the sky and I don't know what it was. I'm sorry, UFO people. Those have to be taken seriously. But in MH370, we know the plane disappeared, and we have a very, very, very strange video, which I want to talk about today, amongst all the other cases. Calvin, we have the most staggering UFO photograph ever taken, which might be a hoax, but if it's real, what is it? And why was it in Perthshire? In Rendlesham Forest, we have multiple witnesses that the CIA could look up their injuries in a lookup table, so we know the frequencies of the effect that they were exposed to. And in the Tic Tac case, where did it take place and who saw it? Or what possibly was the craft that they saw? All of those cases are connected. First of all, by being the best UAP, UFO unknown cases with the best photographs, sensor data and witnesses that I've ever seen. There's no doubt others. There's the school children case in Zimbabwe and in Australia, which continues to intrigue me. And there's also the case in Brazil. I think they are possibly the best UFO evidence ever. But today, let's see what connection there is to MH370. I hope you're intrigued. Right. All right. So I have to say, Ashton Forbes has been incredibly tenacious, despite being ridiculed by the corridor crew, who got it wrong, and lots of other people saying it's a fake video. What's really going on there? But the more he has stuck to his guns and the more I have tried to help as a broadcast TV professional, looking into the video evidence for him, I see things in it which means it's not a hoax. One, it was done incredibly quickly after the MH370 disappeared. Too quick for a hoax or a prankster. Second, the orbs in it go actually behind the aircraft and through the smoke trail, making Newtonian physics happen in the smoke. Why would a hoaxer do that? And yesterday, Ashton really got me interested. That there's two frame rates going on in the video. First of all, the aircraft is 6 frames per second, not boom, 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 boom. Imagine a kind of CCTV frame rate rather than the video signal. Why is very important. But Ashton pointed out something that you should really listen to. The video is at 24, 25 frames per second. That's because, folks, this is big news, really big news. That's because, folks, it's a screen recording on a computer with a variable size window. The person who screen recorded it carefully cropped it not to share classified sensor data, but he did share the cursor as he was moving around. So the whole recording is 24, 25 frames per second, but the aircraft that you're seeing in the screen recording is 6 frames per second. Why would a hoaxer do that? They wouldn't. It's almost impossible to have multiple screen rates in a graphic, to have a graphic going at one speed and a screen recording of the graphic going at a different speed. It nails it for me. Whatever we're seeing, and that's a great debate, whatever happened to MH370, whoever filmed it, and whatever we're seeing on the screen isn't a hoax. It was captured by a high altitude Reaper or aerostat, I believe, type of drone, a surveillance drone running a piece of software called Gorgon Stare, which you need to understand. Gorgon Stare is not a video camera. It's not a video camera on a satellite. Like we all think, the opening scenes of Enemy of the State and the NRO, where a satellite's flying over the city and it picks you up and it zooms in, it can read your... No. It's much better than that. Gorgon Stare takes in the whole city with multiple data from multiple satellites, multiple sensors, infrared, SAR, some optical, and lots of other data such as cell phone and voice and everything. What Gorgon Stare is an unbelievably wide aspect sensor data that you, as a mere human, cannot interpret by looking at the raw data. How you in the NRO, I think, what do I know, interpret Gorgon Stare is by asking AI type of questions. Imagine you were tasked to look for a bad person driving a blue Ford pickup truck and on their cell phone in San Francisco. Well, I mean, given a picture of the whole of San Francisco, how could you... Oh, it's easy. It's easy. There's enough data in Gorgon Stare to type in, find every blue pickup truck. All the blue pickup trucks are found. Find a blue pickup truck with this cell phone being used. Dunk. Got it. Find it visually. Bunk. Real time. Then track it. Where's it come from? Who's he talked to? And where is it going? You've nailed it. That's how you interpret the data. You do not look at the raw sensor data. You interpret Gorgon Stare by AI asking questions, and you can find what you needed. I would like to follow MH370 over the Indian Ocean. Ashton Forbes has researched that Gorgon Stare is a US Air Force program. And it uses the biggest charged couple megapixel, millions of cameras with lenses in a small package flying on either a drone or an aerostat, or just possibly, this is where they come and get me, a 40-foot long pseudo-satellite, which is in long loitering orbit. They're probably all over the world. What do I know? They can do synthetic aperture radar offset to get three-dimensional information. The sensors are multifarious, and the world's biggest camera array of multiple lenses for the visual data is built in Wharton by BAE Systems. 30 minutes from a Perthshire test zone, a multifaceted diamond-shaped strange craft. 30 minutes flight time from Wharton, who make this sensor, to Perthshire at the weekend with a company with the only 2 civil Harriers that fly at the weekend in the Perthshire low-level flight test zone, 2 days after Saddam Hussein invaded Kuwait, that we all want to watch using an early version of Gorgon Stare, the optical system built by BAE Systems. Hang on a minute, MH370 and Calvin might be connected. And hang on, and so's the Tic Tac. What's that got to do with Rendlesham Forest? Aha! I told you this was complicated, folks. And you're probably thinking I'm a complete loony. And I am. And I've got all of this wrong. Everything that I've said is basically wrong. None of it you can check. It's all secret. And I am putting bits together. Thanks to Ashton, tenacious Ashton, who's doing great work. And I'm trying to do good work too. I'm trying to bring you stuff that you begin to understand. That the stuff going on in the world that you don't understand and know about. Oh, I'm putting myself on the line here, folks. I'm talking about systems that I really probably shouldn't talk about. But I think it's interesting. Some of it is historic. So the big question about MH370 is what the crap were those 3 orbs and what were they doing? Well, I'm going to share something with you that I wasn't going to share, but I'm going to. Here's a quick clip of an interview that I'm going to do next week with a Rendlesham Forest witness. Listen carefully how she describes a light in the sky which splits up into 3 orbs and then flies off.
All of a sudden we see this light approaching that was coming from the area of the North Sea, so it's coming west to east. And at first it looked like we thought it was just regular aircraft coming in, and we looked over at the runway waiting for the lights to go on, figuring, well, the aircraft coming in. I mean, sometimes they would have, not often, but an aircraft would come in. And then as it got closer and closer, and now it's about maybe 200, it wasn't really that far, it was just it was a big light, and it just stopped. And this guy and I were looking, we noticed that the runway lights aren't on. We see this light. And then all of a sudden it just stops in midair, and then all of a sudden it just moves up, down, left, right, and then it breaks into like 3 pieces and speeds across the runway. And now we're stunned. We're like, what was that? It was moving in like a regular aircraft, then when it stopped, then when it did its movement, and then when it split into 3, and then when it sped across the runway it was going west. It was just going at a phenomenal speed. And the only other thing that really caught our attention was that it didn't make any noise.
She says it didn't make any noise. It wasn't a plane. She says she's never seen anything move like that. No aircraft or it wasn't an aircraft. It was plasma. It was a directed energy weapon, and it was being researched just a mile from where she saw it. The light in the sky over Rendlesham Forest, the 3 orbs that she describes, was British physics that had been propagated from Orford Ness and Bawdsey Manor and controlled by Martlesham Heath. There is a link. I really think what this US Air Force woman saw is an early version of the directed energy weapon, which just might have been used to down MH370? Who that knows? But I think it's very intriguing. And I know that you can make a focus beam of plasma that will ionize into a sphere at a distance. It can draw a picture, it can make an airplane, or it can, poof, percussively knock something out. I think, and I don't know, I just think that the 3 orbs around MH370 were plasma orbs. They were not the weapon system. They did not bring down the plane. The orbs were being used for targeting the weapon that suddenly went boof and vaporized MH370. The orbs were distorted mirror guide stars. Ooh, I shouldn't have said that. They might be, and I have to keep saying this, laser-induced targeting plasma. When it was locked onto the airplane, a second deadly directed energy weapon might have vaporized the aircraft. The only surviving bits hit the Indian Ocean. The honeycomb structure of the flaperons, odd bits of plastic that wouldn't have absorbed the energy of the DEW. The metal fuselage, the engines, and everything inside was vaporized. Just maybe bits of plastic did hit the sea and were washed up on Reunion and on East Africa. Do you see why this is important? Rendlesham had a witness to orbs. The Tic Tac is a 40-foot long high-altitude observation drone that could easily run Gorgon Stare that I've described. It's an AI interpretation system. Calvin is probably an AI Gorgon Stare observation craft built 40 minutes down the road by BAE Systems. And there's the orbs again at MH370. Orbs that we know how they are produced. The question is, why? So many questions and so little answers. If you never hear from me again, remember me as Simon. This needs further work. Everything that I said is completely wrong. But undoubtedly, folks, the truth is out there. Let's keep digging.